We have to start, of course, with the LPL, League of Legends, in full swing, 7 days a week, every single day. Matchups. Quick note, we are recording this in advance of Invictus Gaming's second match against DMO on Wednesday. So, with that in mind, let's break down their first matchup against FPX, Worlds 2018 versus Worlds 2019. Also a rematch from the semifinals in Worlds 2019 where FPX got the dub. This time around, Invictus Gaming took the bow on stage after a 2-1 victory. Emily, your biggest takeaway from this match?
I think both teams looked a little rusty. I also think this match had everything. If you're trying to introduce someone to the LPL and you're like, why do we love the LPL? We got to see some of the league's top superstars in action. There were some really smart plays. There were some really great mechanical plays. There were some really highly questionable plays. So it had everything. Even, the game that one team wins and you have no idea how they won it. It had that. It had it all. I had a ton of fun. I'm just so happy that the LPL is back and that the off season is over. I'm sorry, Jacob, because off season is my least interesting time because you have to look at all these rosters on paper and kind of see like, make presumptions about how players are going to get along, right? But now we can see them in action, in game, in China. So I'm just super excited that League of Legends is back.
I'm surprised you're here, Jacob. You
I
even
was
said
about to say, I'm going to pack my bag and like Eeyore walk off the set right now. Because,
it's funny.
Done.
I made my paycheck. Things are over now.
It's funny. We have a ESPN ESPorts Slack chat, and you even wrote in there. You're like, I can hibernate now. See you later. Goodbye.
Later.
Yeah.
later.
But let's talk about. So let's start with Invictus Gaming. Obviously, some new faces there. Puff and Southwind, for example, got some play in this game, and they seem to gel well. They seem to look good on that roster. What were your takeaways?
So yeah, typically when you talk about IG, they're a top focused team. You talk about their solo lanes. The Shy, you talk about Rookie. You talk about some highly questionable plays in the jungle, which we also had, by the way. But I think the thing that everyone's talking about from this matchup was the performance of Puff and Southwind because, my friend joked after I said on the live show, like, for those of you who didn't watch Vici, and she was like, that's almost everyone. Puff and Southwind were the highlight of Vici last year, and they're a really talented bot lane, and I know that people are still kind of feeling the loss of Jackie Love, but these two players are incredibly talented, and together, like combined with Puff plus Southwind, I actually think they could be an upgrade from Jackie Love and Balan.
And that's something to say, right? That was something that was on my mind too, is the fact that like these are really big shoes to fill. Jackie Love is not only just one of the most beloved players in the LPL, but he's a very good star as well. And look, like the Shy and Rookie have massively huge profiles. Particularly the Shy had like the sort of the breakout year of his career from a popularity standpoint in 2018 when he went on to win Worlds with Invictus Gaming. But yeah, I was also very impressed by Puff and Southwind because they, particularly Puff, he had this huge sort of shoes to fill in Jackie Love. There's a lot of controversy in China right now going around about what's actually happening with Jackie Love and why he's not on another LPL team or not playing for Invictus Gaming. And so coming into that, I was very pleasantly surprised by the bot lane of Invictus Gaming. Yeah. But the most fun thing about this series to watch was Khan and the Shy. Particularly because these are both like incredibly high-profile top laners. Khan, obviously, previously SK Telecom, the Shy, having won a world championship with Invictus Gaming and having been a very key part of their team for the last few years. I was impressed by that. I was curious to see. We had talked about this on Saturday's show how TN's pathing would change with Khan up there now. But to my point, and Emily, I'd love to get your thoughts on this, is like it seemed like every time FPX would make a great play, they would make an equally bad play, and we saw that a lot in Game 1 about them kind of being their own worst enemy, and sometimes they would pick fights that I was really sort of surprised that they won out. There was one around the Baron Pit and the Blue Buff at one point where Jarvan hopped the wall, Jarvan and Ryze hopped the wall with Tien and Doinby. And they somehow won. Khan sent out this weird Ornn ult down that path in between in between blue and the pit. And I don't know. It seemed like their fight choices were certainly questionable. Emily, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so you mentioned something about FPX kind of being their own worst enemy. They've kind of always been like that, not just in terms of choosing fights, but also in terms of their drafting. Like, I don't know if people remember their game against J-Team where everyone was like, this is going to be 2015 LGD at Worlds, FPX suck. And, they are that kind of team where even in a lot of their wins, and they had like historically strong regular season splits last year. And some of those would be really shaky because of decision making or because they'd insist on playing, really specific team compositions that we now praise them for really knowing like how they want to play, right? With the roaming style of Crisp and Tion basically can be anywhere on the map along with Doinby. Like, you can never assume if you see one FPX player that it's just that player. And that's how they, catch people off guard and especially take advantage of holes in their opponent's vision nets. But in terms of, do they always look amazing? No, they don't. And I actually didn't, if anyone followed what I was saying through Worlds all of last year, I didn't think that they were going to win. Because of these kind of tendencies to shoot themselves in the foot sometimes. So you will see this from them, and I don't think it means that they're any less strong than last year. I do think the point about Khan is valid, though, because even though, and I'm going to break this down in a later kind of video package, but even though I don't think FPX's style will change, even if Tion paths topside more often, I do think your point about how Khan, especially if he is on these tanks, right? Like Ornn, which is an incredibly strong champion right now. If he is not working well with the team, if he's not setting up those ults and layering CC with Crisp in particular, it's just not going to work. And I have to give credit to Southwind because even though he was on Braum, and everyone's like, Braum doesn't require hands, his Braum was really good. He really shut down MF, and he really shut down those Ornn ults. And I think that is actually the main difference maker in this bot lane. Like, yes, Puff is good. I actually don't think he's, I don't see the same, like, mechanical highs, I guess, that I see from JackieLove, or that JackieLove was even rumored to have as he was coming up as a trainee. But together as a duo lane, I think Puff and Southwind are great.
I do want to say, just from like the human emotion element, like seeing them bow on stage afterwards, like they only had a chance to do that 4 times last year. Vici Gaming won 4 games across spring and summer, right? Missing the playoffs. So like, the fact that they were up there, their first game, they get the dub, you could see the smiles on their faces, right? They were so happy. It was like a weight was lifted off their shoulders. And you could tell, right, Emily, that it was
the
like...
weight called Vici Gaming.
Yeah, the Vici Gaming weight. They took a V off of their back and just threw it aside like that. But they were so happy.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy that, and this is kind of what we should see from the way that talent works, right? Like, if you are a really strong talent and you're on a team that maybe isn't performing as well, you still should be able to be scouted and kind of matriculate up onto the larger organizations or the more like popular organizations. Not that Vici isn't popular. I mean, they're incredibly popular, especially in Dota. But I think in terms of League of Legends, IG is one of the original Chinese organizations, and to see Puff and Southwind make their way up is really great. And I'm just glad that so many more people can watch them now, because again, like, these are 2 really talented players that not a lot of people knew about going into the season just because they were on a lower tier LPL team.